checkers coming down. And the inaugural Interstate Batteries 500 at the Texas Motor Speedway.
He's going to get a 1-2 finish. Mark Martin wins the Texas 500.
Edwards gets it done and wins at Texas.
Man, oh man.
For Roush Fenway Racing, what a night for Kenseth. He will win the Samsung Mobile 500. And for car owner Jack Roush, it's going to be 4 wins with 4 different drivers. Greg Biffle wins in Texas.
All right, today we're talking to NASCAR Hall of Fame owner Jack Roush about Texas Motor Speedway and some of the success he's had there. 9 wins in the Cup Series. He's got 18 total wins at the track, one of the most successful tracks for Jack. In 2013, on those premises, he was inducted into the Texas Motorsports Hall of Fame. So we're happy to have Jack here today to relive some of the success he's had over the years at Texas Motor Speedway. All right, Jack, today we're going to talk about your record at Texas Motor Speedway. You guys came out there out of the box pretty good, sweeping the inaugural weekend with Jeff Burton winning the Cup race, and it looks like Mark winning the Xfinity race. What do you remember about that first weekend at Texas and the kind of the excitement around the new venue?
We were winning a lot of races right then, but I didn't think that we were going to win the one at Texas on the inaugural. I was didn't have my own airplane and was flying the airliner, and I had the race was delayed some for rain or for something else, for bad wrecks or whatever, so it ran late. So I got in my car and I was getting ready to leave. I was about to go through the tunnel, and the caution came out with 15 to go or something. I says, well, I can't leave here with 15 to go, getting 4 tires and with a chance to win this thing. So I pulled off just at the edge of the infield where I was closest to the tunnel and watched the restart. And of course, Jeff very handily got the lead after the restart, went on and won the race. And we celebrated till well into the night with that, when we had to tear down the car to an extent greater than this today. And so I had to charter an airplane to come from Detroit to come and get me, because I was too late for the airlines and I didn't have my own airplane. So that was an unusual night, but it was a magic time for us. Mark was at the top of his game. Jeff Burton was shown the way on many technical things that we need to do with our team, and it just seemed so easy that it seemed like it would never end.
Speaking of Mark, you go back to the next year to Texas, and Mark wins the race. What do you remember about that race?
I remember that Mark felt like it was his turn. He considered that Jeff was an upstart. You know, he had come in later than he had, and we already had our team well established. And Mark couldn't believe, I think, that he'd let Jeff win that first race at Texas and had to win the second one. But it was real easy for us to do then. We've won, I think, 9 times in Texas in the Cup Series, and it's really been a pleasure to get down there. I enjoy telling everybody it was something which is not original for me, but I'm always quick to God bless Texas whenever I see we're going to Texas.
So you would go on to win races there with obviously Matt Kenseth and Biffle and Carl Edwards. You know, was there something about Texas that just kind of jived with that group skill set?
Well, it was a 1.5-mile racetrack, and Mark Martin was king of 1.5-mile racetracks at that time. He was most of the setups that went in all the cars had his signature on them. But it seemed like it was real easy to do. At the same time, we had,
Eddie Gossage and those guys, they do a lot of crazy things. So would you say Texas is probably the only track you've ever shot a pistol in victory lane?
Yeah, that was unusual. They had their 6-shooters going and fired them off into the air. That was quite a deal.
What have you done with all those cowboy hats over the year that you've taken home from Texas?
Well, some of them have drifted off to kids. I've got 3 kids, and I think they've got a cowboy hat apiece. And I've got some in my office here in Livonia, Michigan, and I've got some in my office in Concord, North Carolina, and I've got a couple at home.
What can you tell me about the cones outside the racetrack leaving there? You ever had any experience with those big orange cones?
Well, there was a pretty substantial bet going on that I'd wind up in jail because of my antics to getting out of racetracks. The Texas Rangers, for sure, the first years that we were there, they were sure that they'd seen everything that could be that could reflect civil disobedience, but they hadn't seen what race team operatives will do to get out of racetracks when the racetrack's over or get into a racetrack. I know the morning that we won the race, I was headed to the racetrack about 5:30 in the morning, and I had a car behind me with people in it. I had some guests as well as maybe a crew member or two. And so I just proofed the best way to get to the racetrack the day before. And so I got ready to make my turn, and the policeman, a Texas Ranger, steps out. He wasn't on his horse. He steps out and he put the barricade up in front of me. So I got on my car, and they were sure I was going to wind up in jail in that moment. I asked him what in the hell he was doing. He said, well, he was shutting down the road so that he'd get everybody in the racetrack more efficiently. I said, well, hell, there's nobody out here but me and the people who are going to the race. I said, you need to take that barrier down and let us go so I don't run you over. And he says, if you're working at the racetrack, maybe you should go on in. So he pulled the barrier down.
It was good. He saw it your way.
More times than not, that broke in my favor. I know one time they had shut down an expressway going into Texas for the rain and all, and they were going to park people on the expressway. And so I got down this expressway and need to make one more turn to get into the racetrack. The traffic was stopped and wasn't moving, so I just parked that sucker over in the median, put a four-wheel drift going on, and passed everybody and went on into the racetrack. So there was always something going on.
Speaking of Texas and the motorhome and going out there, obviously this year won't be out there with the COVID-19 restrictions, but it's one of the cooler places that we go. Where's your favorite place to eat in that area out there in the Fort Worth area?
I like Del Frisco's in San Antonio. The Del Frisco's is good, and there's a Cattleman Steakhouse that's really good too. So whenever I'm out there, I generally hit Del Frisco's on Friday night and the Cattleman's on Saturday night. I look forward to that. They have really good steaks. You've
never got out there and rode the bull or anything, have you?
Yeah, unfortunately, I've got some pictures of circulating here and there with on that prop bull. They've got a stuffed bull that they use for photographs that you can, with still pictures, you can approximate animation through gyrations. And so I got some encouragement. I did a couple of things I was probably embarrassed about.
Have you ever ridden a real bull?
No, sir.
No plan.
When I was driving my pro stock car and drag racing, I had a rodeo breakout a time or two when I lost traction, but I've never been on a bull that had fire in his eye.
Back to the racing, there was a spell there where Carl Edwards became pretty dominant in your cars at Texas there. What do you remember about that?
I remember there was one year he won the spring race and the fall race both. I don't know if I could recall quickly here which race it was, but
2008. It'd be 2008.
2008. So that would be. I thought Mark won in 2000. No, Mark won in 98.
Yep.
Yeah, he swept the spring and the fall race. Carl was deadly. He backed away from the team and actually pulled out away from the stock car racing as a younger man than most people, or most drivers do. So he got what he needed and realized his success. He ran runner-up for championships twice and decided that was enough of it. He went home to Missouri.
What do you expect from this weekend's race in Texas?
Well, I've cautioned myself on letting my expectation get too high. I think that Ryan will have a good car and can do a good job with it if things will break right for him. The weather last week got closer than we expected, colder than we expected, and that one left us with too much drag and not enough speed on the straightaways. but I think they'll do a better job at picking their downforce drag balance. And Chris is this is home track for Chris Buescher. So Ryan's anxious to do his best with one of the final races of the year here, and Chris is anxious to show out in front of the home folks.
Awesome. Real quick on another note, or kind of that note, how much are you aching to get back to the racetrack? This is obviously the longest, probably in the last 50 years, you've been without going to a race. Are you ready to get back on the box?
I'm ready to get back on the box. I was actually at the roll at Charlotte. They wouldn't let me in the track, but I sat on the outside of turn 2 in my motorhome and watched the race. That was interesting, but I've got a little movie secure room in my basement, and I've got a big screen TV that a big screen apparatus that lets me have one whole wall that I can look with greater detail, see greater detail than I can on actually at the racetrack or on the TV, either one. But if I can't be at the racetrack, I'd rather be in my movie room at home with one of my cars in each ear and cheering for him with as much knowledge as I could have at the racetrack.
We'll certainly be watching this Sunday, as all of us will, cheering for him, and we appreciate your time. Last thing, Jack, on Texas, in 2013, you were honored by the Speedway and put into the Texas Motorsports Hall of Fame. What do you remember about that event?
Well, that was a big night. The Speedway Children's Charities is something we've been in support of, and they were the celebration was in their honor. And I enjoyed working with General Tom Sadler and the Speedway Children's Charities people, and enjoyed the award they gave me that night. It's one of the most cherished awards that I've earned over my career.
All right, Jack, we appreciate your time. We'll let you get back to work and get these cars ready for Sunday. Thanks again, and we'll do this again sometime.
We'll look forward to it. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
Carl Edwards gets it done and wins at Texas.
Man, oh man.
For Roush Fenway Racing, what a night for Kenseth. He will win the Samsung Mobile 500. And for car owner Jack Roush, it's going to be 4 wins with 4 different drivers. Greg Biffle wins in Texas.